have these rules. That doesn't exist today. That's not what we have today, because I don't actually have any choice of I just have to exist within the system. I don't have any discourse against that. And what I'm saying is that this community can set. There are rules that you have to. If you're on my property, you have to abide by rules of my property. Now that doesn't mean that I can set anything that supersedes your. For example, I can't just rape you because you're on my property. Right, and if I did, then there would be discourse that you could take against me through arbitration or whatever. And then if I don't agree to that, then society says, well, my roads are private, my businesses are private. You're a rapist. You've decided you won't pay him reparations. You won't go to jail. So you can't use my roads. You can't come to my business. You can't work at my business. And then so I either have to abide by the underlying moral principle, or I don't live.
What if there are companies that like rapists and they help them?
Okay, and if there are companies that like rapists and that help them, then I think that people wouldn't support those companies.
Well,
I think
it's called the mob.
Competition.
Have you heard of the mob? The mob is a private security firm that they don't care if they've got murderers, rapists. They don't care. That's their gang. That's their group.
I don't see what that has to do with what I'm saying at all.
That you have this utopian idea that everybody would be moral, and once in a while someone's immoral, but we would all agree to ostracize them. Well, what if those ostracized people formed their own little group, and what if it was stronger and more aggressive and more powerful than everybody else?
Okay, so first of all, I do think that people follow moral imperatives, wherever they derive their morals from.
Yeah, we can see that in Germany and Russia.
Realist, but different people, they could be right or wrong, but they derive their morals from somewhere. And I think that most people operate off I don't murder because I think murder is bad, not because the government says I can't murder, because people still the people that don't care, they still murder.
I don't think murder's bad if somebody's trying to kill me.
Okay, but that's not what I'm talking about.
Is
that what I'm talking?
At some point, it's up to my judgment whether or not someone's going to try to kill me, and if there's no state to enforce rules about that, then I can just kill anybody I want and say, well, I thought he might try to kill me.
No, because if you were to do that and you were to go around killing people, and then the families of these people or the community or the people around that saw it, if they try and take you to arbitration and you were found guilty of the act of that, you weren't actually acting in self-defense, because just in the way that there might be security cameras today or bystanders, people that
just call it court. Why do you call it arbitration?
Private court, whatever. It's
private.
Whatever.
What do you mean private? There's no government to enforce privacy. You've done away with government. There's no such thing as private anymore. There's no private property unless there's a government to enforce the law that prevents other people from violating your right to your property. It's just you with a gun doing what you see as best if there's no government. See?
Not at all.
You guys are using the words market and the words property and the words private and the words rights, all just floating nonsense concepts that don't mean anything without the background that makes them a reality. You guys it's like you're in kindergarten. You just want to play with these ideas in your heads, and you don't care about reality.
Okay. So do you believe in private property? Yes, no. I'm just
define it. How about a definition?
Yeah,
that would be rich.
Do you believe
And can you keep it to less than 2 sentences, or is this going to be a 5-minute definition?
Do you believe that you have the ability to own some sort of territory that you have appropriated?
Yes.
Okay, and so do you believe, where does that ownership come from to you?
Well, it's a natural right that if my government doesn't protect, then I have to dismantle that government and build a better one.
Okay, so if the government doesn't protect your right, then it would just be you and a gun, right?
Now, that's why I say that Soviet Russia and Nazi Germany were in a state of anarchy, because any moral individual in that area would be completely justified in killing any government official that he could. So that's why I say they were in a state of anarchy.
So they were in a state of they were in a state of anarchy because it was an immoral government.
Yeah, it was immoral. It was immoral. Therefore,
so the morality of the government. So, like, would you say our government today is immoral?
In the United States?
Mm-hmm.
I would say with BLM looting and rioting while the cops stand by, I would say we are dangerously close to being a completely immoral government. Yeah.
Okay. So where do you determine like the morality of the government? Where is like the line that you draw in the sand that like it's moral now and it's not moral here? Like where is that distinct? Where do you make that distinction? Is it when they don't protect your rights? Is it when they violate your rights? Is it in the appropriate protect? Okay, so our rights have been violated. Our rights get violated, and our I'm sorry. So they don't protect all of our rights because we have rights that I would say that like I have the right to own any gun. I should be able to, I should be able to have less than 16 inches on this. It doesn't mean anything, but I'm not 21, so I can't get a tax stamp. So for me, as a 20-year-old, that right isn't protected. So the government's not protecting my right, and it even violates some. Okay, that's like two sides of the same coin. If the right isn't being protected, it's being violated. So if I have the right to, so I don't understand, like, we have all of these classifications, like you classified, if the government isn't protecting your rights, then it's immoral, yet our government violates our rights today, doesn't protect our rights today, and yet you determine that it's not yet immoral. It's close to it, but it's not yet. Where do you make that distinction?
Well, if I wake up tomorrow and they're calling for volunteers to go occupy the state capitol, then I would say we've crossed a line.
Okay. And like logically, where does that distinction come from? I want like a logical distinction between.
I don't think in this case it wouldn't be logical per se, like as in just formal logic. It would be based on actual facts on the ground. We use philosophy to guide us in life, but the philosophy is we guide ourselves in reality.
Right.
The philosophy is not separate from reality. So it really, really matters if the police are completely defunded tomorrow. That would be a different situation than we were in this morning.
Okay. So I still I'm still trying to figure out, like, I understand. So if the police were gone, so if there were no police, you would determine that it was immoral.
That the government was immoral?
Right, because it's not protecting your rights.
Yeah. Then we need to dismantle the government.
So how many of your rights need to be violated before the government is immoral?
Well, there's definitely different levels of egregiousness. I can't judge any slave from the Old South who tried to murder his slave master. I would not judge that person. Now, legally, he would be killed if he killed his master, legally, but that law was egregious. Terribly egregious.
So you would say it's moral in some aspects and immoral in others?
Yeah, and if you have guns right now that you don't register, even though it's the law to register them, I would not.
Not in my state.
Yeah, I would not. Well, exactly. There are some states and there are other states, right? Same with marijuana. If you're smoking marijuana someplace where it's illegal, I don't judge you for that. That's none of the government's damn business.
Okay, so I've kind of lost my train of thought here.
That's why we have civil disobedience as one of the traditions in our great republic.
Oh, I mean, I believe in civil disobedience, and I believe in not because I don't think that our rights are derived or protected by the government. I protect my rights.
Well, why can't you?
If I delegate that protection to a government, I become subject to that government. And if that government does not decide to protect them, or if the government doesn't get there in time, if I am incapable of taking control of my own life and protecting my own rights, then I have no right to actually say that I have those rights. Because there is nothing stopping one man from putting a gun to my head, and putting a bullet through my brain right now.
There's nothing stopping that?
Yeah, there's nothing stopping that. Somebody could bust down my door right now, and come in here, put a gun to my head, and put a bullet in my head. The only thing that protects my right, the only thing that protects my ability to live is the fact that I have taken actions to protect myself. Because when something like that happens, the government will be too late.
We just disagree completely. I think the existence of the police, the courts, and the military, and the prison system does prevent people.
Why do 16,000 people murder every year?
Okay, that's why you should have a gun.
Okay, so I protect my rights, not the government.
The government protects your rights. That's why there aren't more people breaking down your door and murdering you.
I think that's a baseless claim. I think that people murder because they want to murder, and it's evident in the fact that people at a large scale still murder. I think that there are many factors that play into why people murder, and I don't think the threat of jail is one of them. Because clearly, people that still murder, and a lot of people still murder, something in their head did not signify to them, well, hey, this is illegal, I shouldn't do this. People commit crime all the time. Every single day, crimes are committed, whether it's a small crime or a large crime.
So you're saying the existence of the
government doesn't stop crime.
Okay, but it enforces the law by arresting the guy and putting him in prison for the rest of his life.
It enforces the law in the way in which it wants to enforce the law.
It takes that guy out of the system. He's no longer able to violate people's rights. He's now sitting in a cage until he dies.
If he's prosecuted, if they decide to prosecute, they
happens all the time.
Jeffrey Epstein was found innocent multiple times, right? So what I'm saying is that.
So you're saying it's not a perfect system.
So if the government, you're saying that the government protects your rights, but it only protects the rights that it wants to protect, and I'm saying that I have rights. Naturally, these things, I have the right to appropriate what I can with my body, and the only person that can protect that is me and people who I have allowed to protect that. If I want to delegate that protection to somebody else, then that is my business.
I just returned to the point I made earlier that what we should be discussing is what needs to be changed in the Constitution. That should be the source of the whole basis of this discussion.
It doesn't matter, because even if you change the Constitution, somebody comes along, they interpret it differently, and then boom, you're right back to where we're at now. That's one of the biggest things about Hamiltonian law was that it was up to interpretation, right? And then even if it's not can this Constitution be amended? And if it can be amended, when can it be amended? And then if there is a time when it can be amended, will the government find loopholes to amend it? And will use these situations to amend it when it shouldn't be amended? Will they interpret the law in a wrong way? And
yeah, look, it's the worst system except for all the others.
And I disagree. But I think we're going to keep disagreeing here, and I don't think that really. No, I don't think we're really getting anywhere. But
yeah, I've never gotten anywhere with anarchists. All right. Does anybody else want to say anything?
Well, I was just I'm being respectful. I have not really. I may have raised my voice or whatever when we get heated. I have shown you respect, and you have shown me zero respect this entire time based off of what we disagree on. We probably disagree on this much stuff. There's this much stuff we agree on, and this much, and you're showing me immense disrespect here. I'm 20 years old and I've come to you just to have a civil discourse, and you're being completely rude and disrespectful to me, and I don't appreciate it.
I do not have a reputation for being particularly nice or polite. That's for sure.
That's fine.
For sure. All right. Anybody else want to say anything?
Tree, Liberty, or Ryan, you want to say anything?
I got not much really.
Okay.
Yeah, I think
Alex?
we covered all the points pretty well. So how did
if you want to come to a closing point in our, we've been discussing essentially the same things clearly we just disagree on the fundamental basis of who protects our rights, which I think is a pretty staunch difference between who we believe protects our rights, because I think that at the end of the day, so if the government decides not to protect my rights and I take discourse against that government, that is still me protecting my rights. So I don't think you can actually make an argument at like outside, like sure they can assist in the protection of your rights, but if they decide not to assist in protection of your rights, you once again have to take your rights into your own hand and protect them yourself. Nobody protects your rights except for you and the people that you have allowed to protect your rights. However, if I'm just born into a government, I'm not allowing them to protect my rights. They just it's just
you do if you stay there. You allow them.
Okay,
if you
but if there's no actual it'd be one thing if there's a million small states, and it's as like the difference of moving down the neighborhood. But I have family. It costs money to move out of to move out of state. If I disagree with it, it costs money to get out. I have to work within the state for a certain period of time to be able to move out of the state. The next state that might actually have something that I agree with might be really far away. I might have family here. I might be sick. I might be unable to travel. Saying that you can move.
You're just complaining that it's not a perfect utopia.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying it's not perfect utopia. I'm saying it is. I don't care. Like I don't think that any system is perfect. I don't think that there's any perfect because I think humans inherently will mess things up. They will do wrong, but I'm just saying that it is not a good system by any means. And I know you say it's the least bad out of all of them, but I would disagree. I would say the least bad out of all of them would to not be have a central body that has control over all of these things.
Well, that was Soviet Russia and Nazi Germany. The central body the central body did not have control over all these things. It was just a low-grade civil war. Even after World War II ended, Soviet Russia was in a low-grade civil war.
You're just being disingenuous.
No, I think that Soviet Russia was in a low-grade civil war right up till 1990. It was just whichever group was stronger. It was a state of anarchy. The strongest group ruled in Soviet Russia.
Okay. So who is the strongest group in America?
Gun owners, probably.
Okay. So gun owners rule America?
Well, Trump's in office, isn't he?
And you're saying Trump protects gun, like I don't understand what you're implying by saying Trump's in office. That gun owners rule America. I would say that the government rules America. They are the strongest entity. Sure, if the gun owners wanted to retaliate against the government, they could. But clearly, they've shown time and time again, even if our rights get violated, even if our rights get taken away, that people just roll over and say, "I'm sorry, Daddy Gov. Here's my M16. I don't need this auto sear. Here are my, in 1994, I won't buy any more assault weapons. It's for the greater good." And sure, they could enact on that power, but if you're talking about a central entity, because gun owners are not a central entity, it's just, I have a gun, you have a gun, Alex has a gun. And if I could collectivize and come together, and we could come together and exact force against the government, if we so choose to do that, we might be able to. But I would say, as far as like a central power right now that holds power over the territory, would be the government. So if your definition of anarchy is just rule of the strong, then literally everything is anarchy.
Yeah, like I said, the world is in a state of anarchy. We are in a state of competing protection services, and you can move to whichever protection service you want, but you can't leave some of them.
Okay.
You're not allowed to leave some of those protection services, right? You can leave America, but you can't necessarily leave other ones.
Okay. So if you view it as in a state of anarchy between these entities, why can't it be a state of anarchy between my property, his property, your property? And I know you have like an objection to it wouldn't be property anymore, but if I can defend that if my neighbor recognizes that it's my property, then it is my property. Like the recognition doesn't have to be a central body. So if you're talking about like you want a state of anarchy between these countries, then like I think we disagree on like this much stuff.
Well, this is why I equate Marxists.
How big do you think the government
anarchists.
should? I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Marxists and anarchists are equivalent in my mind because they're both utopians and they don't care about reality. I
disagree entirely.
They have floating
I think
ideas.
Marxists are utopians, but I don't believe in things like we're going to live in a post-scarcity, post-work utopia where people don't want to work. If believing that people can protect their own body and that the protection of their body should not be delegated to anybody else without like involuntarily, if that's utopian, then sure, I'm a utopian.
Yeah, details aside, you are a utopian. The Marxists are utopian and anarchists are utopian.
If that's your definition of utopian, I'll gladly be a utopian then.
You believe that we could have a perfect world and the world we have right now is flawed.
I've already established long ago that I don't believe that it's a perfect system.
Well, then the system we've got.
So now you're
the system we've got is what we should be discussing: how to perfect it, how to make it better, how to improve it.
Okay, that's like saying like the people in colonial British, the British colonies, that was the best system at the time, so they should be discussing how to make it better.
Yes,
maybe
and they did.
Rid of that, maybe getting rid of that system was better.
That's
so I'm
what.
saying.
No.
In my discussion of what is better, I am discussing what is better for the current system. I think what is better for the current system is getting rid of the current system.
The British.
That's what I've established long ago, and I hold that to be true. And you're just completely ignoring the fact, and then and using words like you're an anarchist, you're utopian. You're disregarding the arguments that I've actually set forth, and you're simply just.
I'm trying to answer one of them right now. I'm trying to answer you. The British colonials did not get rid of the British system. They adopted very, very much of what was in Britain at the time. And that is inside.
They got rid of the British king and then made their own government. And then they used some precedent from British law, but they also took precedent from other law systems.
Okay,
that's not the same system.
No, I did not say that. I did not say that. What I said was they did not dispense with the British system. They adopted parts of it. They adopted pieces of the British system. They did not dispense with it.
The British system
just because that's what they did doesn't mean that was the right course of action. Obviously, we're in a state right now, which I think that to different degrees, I think we would be dissatisfied with the state of the current state, and even if you were looking at it from like a statist lens, that we would be dissatisfied with the state of the current state, and those very people that took those actions set forth the writings that allowed the state to get to its current point. So just because they did it a certain way, clearly it wasn't right, because we've got to a point of dissatisfaction where we don't agree with the current system. This current system exists because of those people. Because of them, maybe they should have done away completely with the British system.
Now, it's not that we don't agree with the current system. It's that we don't agree with parts of the current system. You agree that you should be able to sit there and have the right to do as you please within your own domicile as long as you don't hurt anybody, and that's pretty much what's protected by the law. What you disagree with is that they should tax you, that guns should be illegal, that marijuana should be illegal. We disagree on that much. So it's just pieces, it's just parts, it's policy. You're disagreeing on policy, not on principle. And you think that is a principle, to disagree on policy. And that's where philosophy is important, and that's where anarchists are so deficient, is in their understanding of philosophy.
I want to get back to your idea that these things would be voluntarily funded. At what point does an essential entity distinguish itself from a private entity, a separate entity? So you're saying you want like one court system that sets forth the law, okay, and then it's voluntarily funded. Well, if it doesn't get voluntarily funded under your own system, and then some people form a militia and they take over a certain area, you get back to the same, if theoretically that were possible. I'm not even saying that would be possible under my system or under yours. I'm saying theoretically, if that were possible, then your system, if they determine within that given territory that they now have rule over the law there, because if you're predicating something upon the idea that it's voluntarily funded, then but it's voluntary, but yet at the same time it has complete rule over a given territory. Those things are contradictory sentiments.
No, if the people inside the borders voluntarily fund it, then I don't see why that's contradictory.
What if they don't?
Well, then it wouldn't exist anymore, would it? It would stop existing.
Okay.
What's the quandary there?
If it stops existing, then it's not your system anymore.
What if it didn't stop existing? What if it kept on existing? What if the people?
Even if it kept on existing, then we can go back to my argument against the state itself and the problems that it brings within itself, and the fact that it does not solve the issue. So you've presented a few issues that you have with anarchy, right? And I'm simply stating that your government doesn't solve those issues appropriately. It doesn't solve them. I'm saying that there are issues that are always inherent in life. Somebody can bust down my door and put a gun to my head and put a bullet through my head, whether there is a government or no government.
So have a gun. You have a right to have a gun.
Okay, and I have a right to have a gun, but that's not protected by the government.
Look, the government doesn't prevent crime. It punishes crime.
Okay, but you just said that it prevents crime earlier, so now you're
but the existence of the punishment system definitely prevents some people from committing some crimes.
people can punish people without like I'm seriously like I'm still like I don't know if like we're almost like this close to each other. Like I'm saying is that we can voluntarily participate within a system, right? And like that, like you're saying that what gives that look, what hold on. This is what gives that government, your government, the authority over the area. Who gives it that authority?
Me and you. You and me wouldn't be the problem.
Okay. So if me and you and all our other neighbors define that we have this property, who gives it that authority? It's the people that give it authority. The government has no authority without the people. The people are what gives it authority.
Right.
So we disagree on like this much because I'm saying the people can like if I were to like if like I were to give authority to like a security company over my neighborhood, sorry, I was losing track of the word, then it has validified because it's the people that validify the authority. It's not the authority that validifies the people.
Now you sound like me.
How? I can understand because I'm telling you we're this far apart from each other. I'm just like
I do not think...
Okay, so there is if there is a central so you think that there's like one central entity that should like control like write the law and stuff, right?
No, I think an assembly of the people should write the law. Congress...
Which they would assemble into a central entity which would control the law over an area, right?
Congress writes the laws.
Okay, which is a central authority of people.
Yeah, they're elected from the citizens. Some of them are school teachers.
Okay, but they're elected into a central body. Like why? Like I don't understand. Like why you can't just answer yes or no. Like it's not like a gotcha or anything. I'm just asking.
Well, I'm wondering what your point is.
Okay, so if it's a central authority that is like voluntarily elected by the people, but it stakes a claim over like this entire territory, but if I live within that territory and I don't want to participate in the system, then it's not voluntary anymore. Saying you can voluntarily leave is not an answer. Saying I can leave isn't an answer.
If there's somebody in my neighborhood that decides they don't want to voluntarily follow the laws, I'm willing to pay police to go put him in handcuffs against his desire and put him in prison.
Okay, and what I'm saying, right, if the law is bad, and you already said that if the law was bad, then you would have no problem with somebody objecting to that law. Okay, so I'm saying if the law is bad, if you think that this system is violating your rights, you have no it has no authority over what I'm saying. Like, I'm sorry, I'm having a hard time articulating what I'm trying to say. What I'm trying to say is simply that it's not voluntary if I have to abide by the rules of like this system and I have no without like I didn't enter the system voluntarily. There we go. That's what I was trying to say.
Okay, well if you follow the laws, then I don't have a problem with you not voluntarily being in the system.
Okay, so I mean you could say that about today. Like people could say the same thing today. They could say, well, if you follow the law is that marijuana is illegal. If you follow the law that marijuana is illegal and you don't smoke marijuana, then I have no problem with you. So then you can justify literally any law by saying, well, just follow it and then we don't have a problem.
No, I definitely disagree about marijuana laws and gun control laws and EPA controls forced taxation. I definitely disagree on all of those. Like I said, this is not utopia.
So you disagree with those things.
I am not saying
what if I
this
agree
is
with them?
utopia.
So I have no problem. I have no problems paying the police to send them to arrest you.
Yeah.
Because just because you disagree with the law, I agree with those laws.
Yeah, there are definitely people who support marijuana laws, definitely, and I disagree with those people, and that's a matter of philosophy. It's not a matter of utopia.
Okay, this has been a good discussion, but I think that's really all I've got. We're gonna keep going back to like utopia and stuff like that, but like I've had a good discussion. Like I think it was productive. I think it was nice to meet you, but that's all I've got to say for tonight.
All right, nice to meet you, Zane. Anybody else want to say anything, or should we call it?
Wait, so how did you meet Cudwy?
He reached out to me, if that question was for me.
Oh, okay.
I'm on YouTube as MrCropper. I think that's where he found me.
He's been on YouTube for quite some time, for about 12 years, nearly 13.
Nice.
Chat. Somebody just told me that. Oh, wait.
We also have to discuss later on, because I just saw your video about Nick Fuentes. You were playing World of Tanks while listening to Nick Fuentes. We do have to discuss that later on. That's going to be quite interesting.
Yeah, if you want to, what do you have questions about Nick? Or I don't know that much about him. He's just, you'd have to mention something about him. I wouldn't know what to say off the top of my head about him. He's some sort of leftist fascist, I think.
He's, I've seen his political score thing. It's quite, he's economically centered, but quite authoritarian.
Yeah, heavily authoritarian.
He's heavily racist as well. I was arguing with him about immigration, and he used a natural-born citizen as an example against immigration, which only on the basis that he was black. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's racist. I've been accused of racism because I believe in the IQ evidence.
Yeah, I mean, I there is some rule there, but still, even then, I prefer individual judgment in comparison to general judgments.
Yeah, that's my essentially my entire beef with racism is that even if you can say blacks on average have 85 IQ, you can't judge any given individual. They might have an IQ of 120.
Exactly. Like it's those who make those opinions on that statistic, even though it may be true, it's still not the smartest philosophically thing to do.
Yeah, I definitely believe in judging individuals, not groups. And if we were to worry about IQ that much, then China and Japan would rule the world because their IQ on average is 115. So, and they don't. They don't rule the world, or not yet. China's trying. Coronavirus is a Chinese hoax.
I've came into like personal direct contact with Nick Fuentes twice now.
As have I once.
Yeah, I just came up. Me and him was the same thing that we're in right now on Zoom. I was just in a Zoom with him like a week ago, and then I was in a debate with him. Not one-on-one, but a debate with him, just kind of a collective debate with multiple people in there about 2 months ago. So him and Vosh. Are you familiar with Vosh, Robert?
No.
Okay, he's the is Vosh a communist anarchist?
Yeah, he's an anarchist.
He's a libertarian socialist.
Anarcho-syndicalist, yeah.
Oh, he's an anarcho-syndicalist.
He believes in market socialism, and once he gets this market socialism, he'll abolish the commodity form, and like that somehow transitory state to communism. It doesn't make any sense. Wait, so correct me. Do you like? I'm assuming Nick Fuentes is a very huge Trump supporter.
Yes.
Do you know how much he likes guns and the Second Amendment?
No. Can you fix him right?
Oh, shoot. Hold on.
Yeah, you sound like shit.
I probably guess he's only for
white people owning guns.
Yeah, exactly.
That's not a joke. Like that would probably be what he would tell you.
He told me that in a Zoom call once that he's for the deportation of all people that wouldn't fit the American culture. And when I contested when I contested him, he just said it was
white American culture.
Yeah, white Americans. Just essentially white Americans.
He's a heavy consequentialist.
Very, very big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not big on white people because Soviet Russia was run by white people and Nazi Germany was run by white people. So white people aren't big in my book. It's free people. It's individualists that are big in my book.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're going to base your entire worldview on, like, this group, I think that's not the best, you know. I prefer individuals.
Yeah.
Okay. I was asking about Trump, him and Trump, because if there's another Zoom, I'd really like to join and challenge him on those two things.
You're not going to get far with challenging Nick Fuentes because, like,
he doesn't care.
Yeah, he doesn't care.
He doesn't care about being right or wrong. He's already determined that he's right. That's all that matters.
I know. All I know is that, like, MJ destroyed him a few months back, and I heard he got really angry, and I want to see if I could do that.
MJ, since 2 months ago, since MJ debated Nick on immigration, MJ has exponentially has grown his knowledge on immigration.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sorry I missed out part of this conversation in the middle, but there's about 20 minutes of good stuff, but I think you got the essence of it. He and I were just going back and forth. So let's call it. I think this is winding down.